Happy days are here again. The skies above are clear again.
Oh, yes, folks. Enjoying the recovery? I've been listening to the media, even just now, top of the news. Yes, that recovery, 8.9% unemployment. Down from 9%. That's 0.1%. Louder. Oh, yeah. We're only in the hole, $3 trillion and counting. Soon to be $5 trillion. But this great president, listen, I was watching Fox News. My brother Neil Cavuto had a guest on and said, look, you got to give credit where credit's due. I want to thank the president. It's obviously his job-creating policies, his private sector job-creating policies. If I can think of one, I'll let you know. Louder. I can't think of one, but there he is. He's driven the unemployment rate down from 9% to 8.9%. And he did it all by himself. No, not the American people struggling, muscling through his regulations, muscling through his taxes. No. He did it. The president did it. There we go. Louder. Yeah, I tell you, it's great. Oh. 8.9% unemployment. Barrel of oil just went to $1.04. Louder. Oh, yeah, you know, everything's turning around. Beautiful out there. All right, kill it. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read something to you from James Pethokoukis. Oil's $1.04 a gallon, yeah, oil. So, in any event, he writes in Reuters. How he gets away with this in Reuters, I'll never know. He says, drilling a bit deeper, moving beyond the 8.9% unemployment rate and 192,000 jobs created, here's what I found. And by the way, when you listen to the news at the top of the hour, you will not hear this. Instead, you'll hear, the recovery's here. They keep telling us this. You tried to sell a home lately? You tried to find a job lately? So Pethokoukis writes, the U.S. labor force remains as small as it has been in a generation. You know what? Give me that music in the background. It's time to celebrate here. The U.S. labor force remains as small as it has been in a generation. Yes, what an accomplishment. More than 5 million Americans have disappeared from the job rolls. Yes, maybe 10 million in a year. That's what we need. If the labor force was currently at 2007 levels just 4 years ago, the unemployment rate would be a whopping 12%. The worst since the Great Depression. Yes, hit it! He goes on. As it is, the broader unemployment rate, which includes those who are underemployed and discouraged workers, is still an agonizing 15.9%. What's more, he writes, the Federal Reserve believes that the high number of people out of work for 27 weeks or longer is creating structural unemployment. I love it. Louder. Structural unemployment. 3 cheers for the president. I heard them say we need to give him credit. Give him credit. All right, I'm getting a headache. Kill it, finally. Thank you. Always hated that song, I'll be honest with you. Pethokoukis goes on. No wonder the Fed now believes the economy's natural rate of unemployment has increased from a bit under 5% to a bit more than 7%. In short, you have a much larger pool of the long-term unemployed than is historically typical in America, something more akin of what is seen in old Europe. This is why it is critical to deal comprehensively with the axis of economic evil, he writes. Big deficits, high taxes, and onerous regulations. America must get more competitive and productive. I just heard the news report, literally before I came on the air. Great news, ladies and gentlemen, great news. Unemployment at 8.9%. I was watching my brother Neil on the Fox News channel. This guest said, you got to give the president credit, and the Republicans make a big mistake if they don't. In other words, bend over backwards and be a buffoon? Let me explain something. A couple of things. The household survey shows, this is from NRO, The Corner, that the number of employed workers is about 10 million below where it should be to return to the same level of employment before the recession began. At this current rate, that is of last month's job growth, it would take 7 years for the labor market to fully recover. A time period that is simply too long, writes Rhea Hederman. Oh, you gotta love that. Give the president the credit as due him, won't you? And then on my little lonesome here, I just did a little research, and I Googled, and I said, I'd like to see an unemployment chart from 2001 through the first 2 months of 2011. And I have it, and I posted it on Facebook and my other social sites. It is stunning when you look at this chart. It is stunning. Under this president, we've had unemployment at 8.6, 8.9%, 9.4, 9.5, 9.7, 9.8. I'm doing these right in a row. 10.1, 9.9, 9.9. These are each month. 9.7, 9.7, 9.7. I feel like I'm a Russian judge at a gym meet in the Olympics scoring one of my own citizens. 9.5, 9.5, 10.1. Oh, over the 10. 9.9 unemployment, 9.9%. Then last month it was 9.0, and this month it's 8.9. And man, you would have thought that we had it down to the Bush average of about 4.8. So what's going on here? What's going on is they're dumbing us down. They're dumbing this whole thing down. Wait till it gets to 8.5% unemployment. Oh, my God! Then it's really time to go nuts. Excuse me? 8.5, 8.9, 9.1. What the hell's going on here? What are we cheering for? That it didn't jump back up to 10%? Is that how we normally view things? No. Look at the propaganda going on today. Spoon-fed by the liberal media from the White House. It went down 0.1%. With all the spending, all the massive government. He said it would go down below 8%. It's 8.9%. We have a systemic problem. And it's systemic because we have a systemic problem with our government and a systemic problem with liberals who hate profit, who hate wealth creation, who hate the private sector. This president's record on unemployment and jobs creation is a disaster. What are we celebrating? This is statistically meaningless. Meaningless. And then they'll come back next month. Oh, let's readjust. Oh, wait a minute. Let's move the decimal over here and fix it. Excuse us, we meant 9%. And the lib media are rooting and holding on to anything they can for this guy. They are desperate to have you believe that massive deficit spending, massive regulations, massive big government, hiring more bureaucrats is the way to go. They believe in this. They push this. This is why so many of them, when they leave their professions, quote unquote, they're spokesmen for this Democrat, that one, and another one, or this one, or, you know. Let me give you an example. I'm going to pluck one here. 2007. Calendar year 2007. Here was the unemployment rate for that year, starting in January. 4.6%, 4.5%. 4.4, 4.5, 4.4, 4.6, like a Russian scoring an American at some swim meet at the Olympics. 4.7, 4.6, 4. And it jumped to 5% in December 07. I'm going to pick another one? Nah, I'm not going to. We link to it, and we'll put it on marklevinshow.com. So, which works, ladies and gentlemen? Socialism or capitalism? We're cheering 8.9%. The liberal media are pushing 8.9% as some great event, which I said already is statistically questionable. 9 to 8.9. They'll be back next month and they'll adjust it. And then how do you square the number, putting aside all the rest of it, with Gallup, which does its own statistical analysis? It's a private firm. And yesterday it said unemployment, it's 10.3% in February. And underemployment surged to 19.9% from 18.9%. They have it going in the other direction. The bottom line is this. There's so many people who've dropped out of the system who are now going on the welfare rolls, now getting food stamps, now going on other, forms of charity with family and churches and so forth. We're not counting them anymore. It's like radio hosts at 2 a.m. They get these huge radio. My God, he's got an 18 share. That's because there's 12 people in the audience. And so they're attracted not to music, not to news, but they want to hear talk. It is what it is. I'm not putting it down. It just is what it is. Don't allow them to dumb you down. This is America. We don't cheer for 8.9% or 9% or 9.7 or 8.5%. That's unacceptable. We don't cheer for socialist policies that bankrupt this country and make it harder and harder and harder for people to find work. That spreads not wealth but despair. We have our own senses, our eyesight. We hear. You hear what's going on in your neighborhood. You see what's going on in your neighborhood. There's nothing to celebrate. The economy is flat on its back. We have a government that refuses to unleash it. This is the most irresponsible president and the most irresponsible Democrat Party in my lifetime. And the media, they're a complete joke. They don't look into these figures. Just like yesterday, they didn't actually read the judge's decision in Pensacola, Florida. That would be Judge Vincent. They just took 2-3 sentences and ran with it. You can't get real news from the media anymore. You've got to do your own research, your own digging, your own looking and listening. I corrected them on their decision, on how they were reporting that decision yesterday, and on they went. And they're not going to look at the figures that underlie 8.9%. They're going to continue to dumb you down as best they can so that you're cheering, so that you feel good about 8.9% unemployment, down from 9%, while there are 5 million people who are desperate, who just a few years ago were in the workforce and now are out for good. And they tell us this is systemic. Why is it systemic? Since when do Americans accept a system that is destructive of productivity and job creation? The liberals are imposing it on us. We don't have to accept it. It doesn't have to be systemic. What is systemic about it is their ideology. So let me circle back. No, we're not going to praise Barack Obama for this because somebody's hawking a book and telling us to. We're going to speak the truth, whether it's popular or not. This sucks. I'll be right back. Well, the Wisconsin Education Association Council, despite the hard work of Barack Obama and driving down the unemployment rate from 9 to 8.9% and driving 5 million people out of the workforce altogether and driving up our debt by trillions and trillions of dollars, while the Wisconsin Education Association Council is not minding their president by saving or creating jobs, Scott Walker is now required to notify the union, among others, that he will start laying off state workers in a month. He has to give them, I believe, 31 days notice, and I believe that starts now. We'll be right back.